Today on the Morning Edition, the Matsu School District is facing a $20 million budget shortfall, and this may feel familiar to many as ASD just went through a similar process. Now Matsu schools are on the chopping block. We'll bring you the latest on the discussions. Plus, weather in Juneau hasn't been sunshine and rainbows lately. Morrison will break down exactly what we can expect to see in Southeast and if they're due for a break from the snow and wet weather anytime soon. And later, we'll take a look at a student-painted mural in a local high school, hear from some of the artists that had a hand in painting and designing it, and the impressions of the art piece overall leave on these students. As the Morning Edition starts now. Good Thursday morning, everyone. Thanks for waking up with us today. Yeah, speaking of Southeast, they had some pretty bad weather yesterday. Are they out of the woods yet?
Well, this morning we are seeing some of that snow that's continuing across Southeast, but still holding on to heavy snowfall. And yes, later today and into Friday, we're going to be talking about the return to some heavy rain. Now, there have been some dry breaks, but that is very short-lived as the waves of rain waves of moisture continue to build in across Southeast. Here across South Central, we're waking up. Those temperatures sitting at 3 degrees as you head out towards Ted Stevens. We are still seeing many areas with those sub-zero values. You can see as you head into the valley this morning, 21 below in Willow, 11 below in Wasilla, out towards Soldotna, Kenai. We're seeing those temperatures anywhere from about 3 below to 7 below. So still cold, although temperatures each and every morning have been warming by a few degrees. Starting tonight, this is where we're going to see some of the greatest warming this week taking place as cloud coverage is set to move in across the state or across South Central. You can see across the rest of the state, 23 below in Bethel. As you head through Fairbanks, the temperature's dropping as cold as 34 below. But the interior will begin that trend today where temperatures will warm near 0 degrees. And then by Friday and into Saturday, that is where we're going to see those temperatures potentially warming into the double digits. And by double digits, I mean possibly right around 10 degrees, but still going to be warm considering where we have been sitting at. So that's going to be about a 40-plus degree temperature swing for parts of the interior. Now, what we are going to be watching as we welcome in the overnight hours, clouds already beginning to increase across coastal regions of South Central. We've still got widespread activity out towards Southeast. We're going to be watching a track of our storm system because where it ends up tracking will largely depend on how much snow we'll see across South Central. If we see a track that takes us through parts of the Cook Inlet region, we're going to see a lot less snowfall for western parts of South Central. But if we take that typical track that moves that storm into Prince William Sound, we will have a better shot for seeing some snow accumulation as we welcome in our Friday and Saturday. So coming up in my full forecast, we'll be talking about that heavy rain in the Panhandle by Friday. Snow returns to both South Central and the interior with those temperatures rising. I'll have those details in that 7-day coming up.
New this morning, an Anchorage man was sentenced to 14 years in federal prison for trafficking methamphetamine and fentanyl and for illegally possessing a firearm, according to a release from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Alaska. Christopher Nicoleski had a prior state felony drug conviction and a 2017 federal conviction for being a felon in possession of a firearm. In the 2017 case, prosecutors said he started a violent struggle with Anchorage police officers and pulled a loaded gun. He was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison at that time. The latest case stems from 2 incidents in the fall of 2023. In the latter of the 2 events, he pulled a gun and struggled with 2 Anchorage police officers. The firearm went off, striking both officers, but both of them made a full recovery. You can read more details on this case on our website. Facing down a deficit north of $20 million, the Matanuska-Susitna Borough School District is looking to trim next year's budget. Joe Allgood was at the school board meeting hearing about the options that include school closures.
It's a packed house here at the Matsu Borough School District board meeting where students, parents, and teachers are all advocating for programs that could be cut and schools that could be closed before next school year.
The district is facing a $23 million deficit, and so to address that shortfall, one of the biggest proposed cuts are school closures. Meadow Lakes, Larson, and Glacier View are the 3 elementary schools being considered. In addition to the proposed school closures, the district is recommending cuts to over 100 full-time positions, including administrators, teachers, special educators, and counselors, among others. Nurses across the district would be reduced by half under the proposed budget, and the district would shift to a regional nursing model. Most attending Wednesday's meeting were advocating for one of the 3 schools the district might close. The district says it would evenly disperse the students from those schools. Parents are worried about the precedent it might set.
There is a large capacity in neighboring schools, so there is an ability to transfer those students in their neighboring boundaries where there is capacity.
We start seeing more low numbers, and then that's going to be their way of dealing with a deficit, is they're going to close more schools. And I'm just worried that we're going to end up with no schools.
Since public comment lasted to the end of the meeting, the school board will pick up the budget discussion at their next meeting. Joe Allgood, Alaska's news source.
And that next meeting is on the 24th, and that's where they're expected to adopt a budget. Fairbanks is still digging out after that late February winter storm that shut down buses and closed schools, and road crews have been working around the clock to catch up. The state transportation department says this has been a much snowier than normal season, and they're working through a priority system. First, the main highways, then neighborhood routes, then the outlying roads. With so much snow and even more in the forecast, drivers often have to circle back to those primary routes before they can finish the side streets. They're asking for patience and for drivers to give plows plenty of room to work, especially around those rough intersections and big snow berms. Governor Dunleavy, the head of the Environmental Protection Agency, and Alaska's Attorney General were all in Fairbanks getting a firsthand look at the winter challenges people are dealing with. Alex Bengal was at the news conference on the UAF campus and has this update.
Behind me, the UAF power plant runs on coal, one of the resources EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin supports developing in Alaska. Zeldin met with Governor Dunleavy at the power plant to discuss Alaska's future.
Our goal is to be a great partner for the state of Alaska. I believe that Alaska knows best how to lead through Alaska's issues to deliver clean air, land, and water for all Alaskans.
Zeldin says the EPA needs to determine which regulations work for Alaska and are needed here. The administrator emphasized cooperative federalism, which is the EPA taking its regulatory lead from state officials.
We want to continue that partnership. We want to continue to strengthen that partnership. As it relates to PM 2.5, that is the reason why Senator Sullivan and Senator Murkowski asked me to come to Fairbanks in the winter. Because they saw the last administration put new regulations on PM 2.5. They saw how that impacts the ability for this area to be in attainment, and what the consequences are for this area if they are unable to reach attainment.
Zeldin arrived in Fairbanks yesterday and is in town for about a day to talk to locals and officials about the unique Fairbanks climate. As for Dunleavy's trip, the governor spoke with the Greater Fairbanks Chamber of Commerce yesterday about the potential consequences on oil prices of the conflict in Iran and the possibility of an LNG pipeline running north to south across the state. Alex Bengal, Alaska's news source.
Gas prices continue to climb rapidly, increasing day over day with the conflict in Iran continuing to upset the global market and supply. Here in Alaska, a week ago, we were paying $3.59 at the pump. Today, across the state, averages have increased to $3.72. National averages have continued a swift climb as well, now sitting at $3.25 on top of global issues. Prices are also rising with the switch to changing the blend of gasoline for spring and more drivers hitting the road. An oil and gas lease sale in the Cook Inlet has no takers. Up for grabs was more than 1 million acres of water. It was seen as the key test of the industry's appetite for investment in a state. One environmental group said this was a huge embarrassment for the president's fossil fuel goals. Senator Dan Sullivan said it was a disappointment, but not a surprise. He blamed regulatory uncertainty and environmental activism. The next auction in the Cook Inlet is scheduled for March 2027. When many people think of Rondy, they think of the carnival, the rides, the lights, the food. But have you ever stopped to think about the effect it has on the stores and small businesses around it? For some, it can make or break the difference for an entire year. We'll take a look at the overall impact after this week.
And we're still holding on to some of that rain and snow out towards southeast, which will increase in intensity through Friday. I'll have more on that, as well as how much snow the Panhandle has seen. But first at sunrise, 7:46 in Anchorage, 6:41 in Juneau.
Welcome back in. 12 minutes past the hour on this Thursday morning. And Aaron, we're still taking a look at Juneau. Not as bad as yesterday, though.
Yeah, we're not first alerting today. Those winter storm warnings, those have expired. With that said, snow is still occurring through the panhandle. You can see a live look coming in from Juneau, where you can see that snow is continuing to pile up on those roadways. Now, sometime between the morning and early afternoon hours, we will see a transition to more of a wintry mix, which will eventually lead to some rain that's going to become more widespread as we welcome in our Friday. This will lead to some additional concerns as the week draws to a close, because that avalanche danger is still rising for portions of Juneau and all of the known slide paths. And when we're talking about temperatures warming here over the next couple of days, with that transition to heavy rain, that's going to lead to some snow melt and rain falling on top of that snow melt, which could exacerbate any of that avalanche concerns, as well as lead to the potential that we could see some minor flooding potential as we welcome in the weekend. Temperatures are already warming in Juneau at 32 degrees. This is where we were sitting at earlier this week in the teens and the 20s. Now, as of this morning, and this takes into account what fell yesterday, 154.8 inches of snowfall, which is currently the snowiest winter since 2008 and 2009. Now, when we're looking at the snow by the numbers, we've seen 7 new daily snowfall records set so far this season, with 16.4 inches that fell in the latter portion of December, being the highest single-day snow for Juneau since 2006. And it has certainly been a very wet season in terms of snowfall, as we're currently sitting at the 8th snowiest season on record. And temperatures have been warming across the panhandle. We're still in the 20s for areas to the north, 30s and 40s as you head to the south. But as that warmer air continues to build in across southeast, we are going to see that transition from snow, where we're currently holding on near Juneau and surrounding areas. That will eventually transition to a wintry mix, if not some rain later today. And you can see that towards the mid-morning, early afternoon, where that transition will occur. And then we'll see a dry break later this evening, overnight, and then widespread rain builds right back in as we welcome in our Friday. And those pockets of yellow and oranges that you're seeing, that's heavy rain that's going to be inundating the area. So go ahead and be prepared for that potential that we could see some flooding concerns as we welcome in the weekend. And then by Saturday morning, you can see another dry break for many areas before more moisture builds back in. And this will lead to a transition back to snow as we tap into some cooler conditions. So the active weather is showing no signs of letting up, but we will see some dry breaks here and there. Now, through at least the afternoon hours, we'll still pick up a couple of more inches of snow accumulation through the northern panhandle, out towards Juneau, the Mendenhall Valley. We could still see several more inches of that snow accumulation before the transition happens. Once that transition happens to rain for a good portion of southeast, you can see by week's end, we could easily pick up 1 to nearly 3 inches of rain accumulation for parts of the panhandle. Now, keep in mind, locations to the north, some of this is snowfall, but that heavy rain does build in as we welcome in your Friday. So warmer weather still building in across southeast. That transfer to a wintry mix will be underway throughout the day. We are going to be at 42 degrees for your Friday with that widespread rain likely. And then you can see that transition back to a wintry mix and then all snow by Sunday. So we're kind of back and forth here, Kristen, when it comes to that ongoing active weather. So enjoy those dry breaks because we will continue to hold on to waves of moisture.
All right. Thanks, Aaron. As hundreds of people head downtown for Rondy and the ceremonial start of the Iditarod this weekend, local businesses are gearing up for what many call their busiest weekend of the year. Georgina Fernandez has details on the economic boost and how they're preparing for the influx of visitors.
Every year, the sights and sounds of Rondy brings hundreds of people to downtown Anchorage.
Yeah, it's so fun because, all the dogs have to go by our store in the front.
A tradition that businesses rely on.
It brings a lot of energy into the store and a lot of customers as well.
As they prepare for an influx of visitors, Polar Bear Gifts on 4th Avenue says they see about 3 to 4 times more foot traffic on a Rondy Saturday.
We count on Rondy and the customers coming in to really help us get through the winter months and kind of feed us right into summer.
And they're not alone.
It's one of our winter busy time of the year.
Just down the road, Alaska Fur Gallery says they see 100% more people during the festivities, giving them a much-needed revenue boost in the winter.
It always helps. Every penny helps in all these days because the economy is going up and down.
And with Iditarod hitting the streets here in downtown Anchorage on Saturday, businesses tell me they're expecting to see plenty of time, more foot traffic this Saturday compared to a normal weekend.
We really rely on Iditarod and it going well, and so it's kind of like a practice run for the summer. It is just like a summer day for us on one of our busiest days.
And with the last great race ceremonial start inching closer, shops are preparing now, making sure they have extra staff and security on hand as they get ready for their busiest weekend of the year. Georgianne Fernandez, Alaska's news source.
The Iditarod ceremonial started Saturday at 10 a.m. in downtown Anchorage, and as usual, mushers and their dog teams will leave the start line in 3-minute intervals. The booming voice of Dave Stroh sending them off. Thanks for listening to our podcast. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcasts from Alaska's news source automatically. And stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting. Available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's news source app.